looks like we got some people in here now.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good
Happy,
morning.
happy,
Aloha.
happy Girls' Day to all the females.
Oh, it's cool being able to see everybody.
Yeah. So, welcome to today's presentation, The Rental Advantage, Building a Pipeline to Future Business. We are recording this presentation for you guys, so at the end, we can send that out to you guys. In order to make sure that we address everybody's questions efficiently, please just make sure to put your questions into the chat, and we will go ahead and answer those at the end of the presentation. If you could just make sure to stay muted until the end, and then you can either ask those questions directly or just go ahead and put those in the chat and we can answer those there. Just wanted to let you guys know so that you don't think we're ignoring your questions. We're just going to save those for the end. Today, your guys' speakers are going to be Jennifer Rose and Katrice Price. Katrice is an industry relations manager and Jennifer is a regional partner development manager with apartments.com. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Katrice so she can give you guys a little bit more information about herself.
Well, good morning and aloha. Again, my name is Katrice Price. I'm an industry relations manager, as Jennifer said, with apartments.com. I actually cover the western half of the US for apartments.com. So basically I cover the states of Texas and West, and of course, Alaska and Hawaii. My background is actually not in real estate. I actually come from a background in social work. I practiced social work for about 14 years in the Washington, D.C. area, as well as in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I am based right now. Decided to go through a little career change, went back to school, got a degree in business, and now I'm with apartments.com. I've actually been at apartments.com for about 5 years in various roles. I've been in the industry relations department for about 4 years. I really want to thank Jennifer and Ed and Michael Fry for helping us schedule this seminar. I have actually been working with Michael in High Central MLS since about 2018. We go back a while. And we are really happy to have developed a really great working relationship with your MLS. And we are really excited to see how well your feed has been performing at apartments.com. So we really hope this webinar is going to be informative and useful to your business. And it'll also give you the opportunity to get to know apartments.com a little bit better. So if you could just do me a favor, I am going to start a poll. And it should say, do you work with residential rentals? If you could just take about 30 seconds to answer those questions, that question, I would appreciate it. Well, I am going to hand it over to my partner, Jennifer Rose, and she's going to get things started.
All right, thanks, Katrice. Aloha, everyone. I am happy to be here with you this morning. My name is Jennifer Rose. I am one of the regional partner development managers with the industry relations team at apartments.com. And I am absolutely thrilled to be joining Katrice on this presentation today. A little bit about my background. It is in real estate. I was an active real estate agent for 10 years. I've held a license for the last 14. I'm also a licensed real estate instructor as well. And about 4 years ago, moved over to the business development and training side. And then about a year ago, I had the opportunity to join apartments.com. And I am so glad I did, because it is a fantastic company to work for and a great team to work with. So I am here today to talk to you about rentals and the advantage of actually working with them. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be talking about rentals. Now, during my time as an agent, I spent a number of years working with rentals. When I first started in the industry back in 2006, 2007, I was working for a regional brokerage in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And when they brought us on board, what they did was, they assigned a mentor to us. And so she spent some time with me, and one of the first pieces of advice that she gave me was, she was like, don't waste your time with rentals. And the reason she said that is because it's not a lot of money for a lot of work. And I listened to her. I went through and, started my career. And if I had an opportunity to handle a rental lead, I didn't take it. And she was operating under a common misconception that a lot of agents work under, and that is that rentals are too much effort for too little money. But when we work under that misconception, we ignore the obvious, that most buyers begin as renters. So as you can see, statistics show that 56% of millennials, and that's those ages 25 to 40, and 46% ages 41 to 56 of Gen X were renting when they decided to buy. Now, as individuals move through their cycles of life, their housing needs will change and grow. Building and growing these relationships during these various phases of life is how you're going to be able to grow your business. And I can tell you, your peers already know this relationship. 1 in every 5 rental clients converts into a buyer. And this is agents who maybe handle a few rentals a year. They don't have an outreach plan for renters. They have not built that into their business plan. So for agents who do have an outreach plan, that ratio goes up to 3 in 5 out of every rental clients converts into a buyer. So incorporating rentals into your business plan is important, and it's going to help feed your pipeline for the future. So let's take a look at the housing path for first-time home buyers. And this is a normal path. Most people start out at home, they go off to college or trade school, and then towards the end of their education, that's when they begin looking for their first rental property. And from there, they get out into the working world, maybe their job situation changes, they get a better job, it's time to get a better place to live, maybe a larger place to live. And they'll go through this cycle several times. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 2 to 4 times. But at some point, they get to a point in their life where they consider that it is time to buy a property. And it's during this path that they're going through as renters that you really want to start engaging with these individuals. Early client contact is key. So 88% of clients will use the agent that they worked with when they were finding a rental. So that's why finding these clients early on in their housing search is really important. And in doing that, it can actually net you an additional 2 to 4 transactions over the life of the relationship. And that's actually a pretty conservative estimate. So remember, I talked a little bit about my background as an agent and when I first came into the business. and working with that initial mentor who told me not to work with rentals. Well, a little further into my career as an agent, I did have the opportunity to start working with property management. And I handled probably a portfolio of around 100 residential properties, single family homes, townhomes, condominiums. And what I found in managing these properties, I would list them for rent and I would get potential renters contacting me, wanting to put in an application. I started working with these individuals, and some of them I would place into my properties. Some of them, I would continue to work with them and maybe found a different rental property with them. But a number of them I was able to convert to buyers. And that was just because I was building these relationships. The other thing that I noticed is that as I was working with these renters, they started sending me referrals. They would refer their friends, their family, coworkers, anyone who needed my services as an agent. And that wasn't just, for a rental, it was, for listing a property to sell or working with someone who was already ready to buy. And I wasn't working with them in that process, that life cycle. And then what I found is that working with them as I put them into rental properties, I started building those relationships. And eventually, a lot of those clients turned into buyers. So what I want to talk about next is actually identifying the potential buyers from your pool of rental clients. So what this next slide illustrates is called the gray zone opportunity. Now we have two ends of the spectrum. At one end, you have your definite buyer, okay? This is someone who their entire goal, once they have entered the market, even as a renter, their ultimate goal is to own a home. So that is, they will eventually turn into a buyer. And it is absolutely worth working with them as they work through those different phases of their life and maintaining and evolving that relationship. Now, on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have the definite renter. So this is someone who, for a variety of reasons, really is probably never going to buy a property. It could be that they have a job that just, requires them to move every 12 to 18 months. Military is a great example of that. It could also be that, they have a job where they just travel all the time. And so renting a property just makes more sense, makes a lot more sense to them. They don't have to deal with the maintenance. It's much easier to call up a landlord or a property manager if there's an issue. They are still worth working with because these folks, even while you may not get a direct sales transaction from them, in working with them on their rental transactions, they will refer you to their friends, their family, their coworkers, because they trust you, you are assisting them. And so again, it's another way for us to build that pipeline. Now let's talk about what we call this gray zone opportunity right here in the middle. So 57% of first-time buyers were actually considering renting, even if they were looking for a property to purchase. And on the other side of that, 50% of all eventual renters considered buying. And again, this is when they were looking for their next rental. In the back of their mind, they were considering, hey, maybe buying makes more sense. So that is that gray zone opportunity. And this is a huge opportunity for you as you are working with these individuals, you are creating these relationships. That is a tremendous opportunity to actually get a lot of business. So think about that. as you're working on your business plans, as you may be folding rentals into that. So there's a great deal of potential there. Now I want to talk a little bit about what a buyer looks like. So let me preface this particular slide by explaining that these statistics are based on national averages. As we all know, all real estate is local. So the stats for your specific market may look a little bit different, but let's just go ahead and break this down a little bit. Again, national averages. What we're seeing is 42% of buyers are millennials. Again, that's that 25 to 40 age range. And the median age is 40. Median income is about $87,500. Now, 29% of buyers are Generation X. And that's, that older range, the folks who are in that 41 to 57 age. 70% of buyers are married or partnered. 62% have at least some college. And finally, 42% are first-time home buyers. That's almost half. So where were all of these people living before they buy? Well, they're renting. And that's why it's so important to tap into this market. Let's talk about converting those potential buyers. And it really is all about the conversation and how you address it. So you want to frame the conversation around what you do best as an agent, and that's service and education. That's what we're about. We are about providing our clients with the best service we possibly can, but we're also about educating them on the market, educating them on finance options, asking questions, helping them understand if perhaps renting or buying is, which is better. Perhaps buying is a better option than renting a property. Does it make more financial sense to them? And you frame that by, let's say, okay, this is what your $2,500 a month rental budget is going to get you versus what a $2,500 a month mortgage could get you. You want to make sure that you are making that information available and you're making it very clear and very real to them. Always have information packages available for renters and show them resources available in case they were to consider buying. Now, again, not every single person is immediately going to convert into that buyer. It does happen. And it happens quite a bit, as we illustrated in those previous slides. However, it doesn't matter if you find them a great rental property and you are building that relationship. Eventually, they're going to convert and they're definitely going to send you those referrals that are going to help you build your business and fill that pipeline. And we always want to make sure that we're asking them qualifying questions. Does buying make more sense than renting, as I mentioned previously? Would it be more of an advantage for them financially to purchase a home? Get to understand what their goals are and what their financial picture looks like. So as agents, we are the experts. And we need to be able to intelligently discuss their options as far as purchasing goes and as far as renting goes. So, and educate them on the market. Is it a good time to purchase? And right now we know in many parts of the country, we're in a very challenging market for buyers. So that's another way to educate them. One thing that I always like to tell agents is that you are not in this for the immediate gratification. Working in real estate and working with clients, is long-term. It takes time to build those relationships, to build that business, to convert those clients, and to get that referral base going. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. And you always want to make sure that you are putting client education at the forefront. Make sure that you are educating them on what they could be missing out on so they can compare and they can visualize, and make sure that you are giving them the tools that they can use on their own to come to some of these decisions, such as rent versus buy calculators. Again, we're going to go back into what different rent levels would equal in different home costs, and you're going to help them make it real. And you're going to do that by illustrating, okay, this is what your $2,500 a month rent budget gets you versus what a $2,500 a month mortgage can get you. So let's talk a little bit about buyer behavior. And again, this is more based on national averages. So your mileage may vary depending on your local market. But with millennials, with millennial buyers, they are more likely to exceed their initial budget. And they're usually more flexible about the type of property they purchase. And there are a couple of reasons for this. What studies have found with millennials is that they are looking for more than just a townhome or a single family home. What they're looking for is they're looking for a lifestyle. And maybe that includes living in a place that is close to work and also close to shopping and other amenities that they can walk to their neighborhood grocery store, or they can walk to the park. That is what's more important to them. So what we found is that they are likely to be more flexible on the type of property, and they're likely to be more flexible on their budget if you can get them where they want to be in the area that has the amenities that they're looking for, that fits their lifestyles. Their home searches on average usually take around 12 weeks. Now, with Generation X, this generation is less likely to exceed their initial budget. And I am a Gen Xer. I fall in that age range. I actually purchased a property last summer, and I can tell you it is true. My budget was very important to me, and not going over that budget was exceptionally important. We also want either single family homes or townhomes. Now that's going to depend on certain life situations. So many Gen Xers have kids who have now gone off to college. So they're experiencing empty nest syndrome. And maybe it's time to downsize from that larger home into a townhome. But some may want to upsize and maybe looking for a single family home, because in the pandemic, we've seen a lot of people who have moved to a work from home situation. Some companies have decided, hey, we're not bringing these folks back into the office. Just makes more sense to keep them working from home even after we are out of this pandemic. So these are folks who are looking for things like home office space. And that is very important. Maybe a space to have a home gym. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of factors that play out there. Home searches in Gen X usually take around 13 weeks. And then you have buyers with children. And what statistics have found with buyers with children is that 86% want single family homes. Again, this is based on national averages. Your market with your local market, your mileage may vary, and those statistics could be slightly different. But on average, buyers with children want single family homes. And that's again because, they want the space. Maybe they want that big backyard. There are a variety of reasons, again, that are all lifestyle driven. and their home searches normally take about 17 weeks. So let's move on to continuing the conversation. And continuing these conversations are critical. When you're working with these renters, it is incredibly important that you don't take the attitude that they are one and done, that you put somebody in a rental and then that's it. So you want to make sure that as soon as you are taking them as a client, you have put them into your CRM, they're in your database. You have set them up on your marketing programs, whether that be email drip campaigns, sending them an invitation to your Facebook business page. If you are someone that still does print marketing, such as postcards or newsletters, make sure that they are receiving your marketing materials. All right, you put them in that rental property. Do not forget about them. They should be on a targeted follow-up. And that includes touching base periodically and continuing to qualify and requalify them. So you qualified them when you took them as a client to make sure that they were a viable client, that it made sense that they would be able to have an application accepted on a rental. But you're going to continue to ask those questions. And that can be as simple as, when you're doing some outreach, either a quick text or a quick phone call, just saying, hey, how are things going? How's the job? That is a qualifying question, because they'll start talking to you. Oh, I just got a promotion. Well, if you're listening, and we should be listening to what they're telling us, then that says, well, they might be ready, for a different property. It might be time for them to move into something a little bigger. So ask the qualifying questions. Always be asking those. You also want to make sure that you're following those clients on social media and that you're monitoring the social media for any career or personal changes. Things like they just got married, maybe they're expecting a baby, maybe they're going through a divorce. These are all things that we need to know, because it does impact when we reach out to these clients. And again, never underestimate just the periodic check-in call or check-in text message. Hey, Bob, it's Jen, just checking in to say hi. Or, hey, saw your vacation photos on Facebook. Looks like you had a blast. Just wanted to say hello. And then finally, you also want to make sure that you have set them up on an alert that you have that will notify you around 6 to 8 months after they have moved into that rental property. You want to get them when they are beginning to think about what their next move is going to be. So right before that lease expiration period, are they going to renew the current lease? Are they going to need your assistance maybe in finding a different rental? Or maybe it is time and they are ready to buy, but you want to make sure that you're getting them in that sweet spot. Now, obviously, market changes may impact that outreach timing. So again, just keep an eye on things and be aware of that. Now, I want to move on to what we call conversation killers. We are continually speaking with our clients and asking those qualifying questions. However, nothing kills a conversation quicker than the down payment hurdle. 65% of renters, that's a lot, say that down payment is the most concerning aspect of home ownership. And you can see how that further breaks down among the generations between millennials, Gen X, and even the highest income ranges. And other things that may factor into that are financing, their debt to income ratio, and a big one right now, inventory concerns. But let's talk a little bit more about that hurdle, because the common conception that many renters have, and many potential first-time buyers have, is that they must have 20% down in order to purchase a home. And as real estate professionals, we know that that is not the case. The 20% down is actually a myth. There are a lot of local, state, federal, private, and even nonprofit programs that exist to help home buyers with down payments, not to mention FHA loans and VA loans. FHA, I believe, is at 3.5% down right now, and VA, 0 down. It's one of the best you can get. And these can be based on a variety of different factors. You know, as far as these programs go, it could be based on location, could be based on employer. A lot of large companies have down payment assistance programs for their employees. I mentioned VA for active duty military and veterans. There are also programs out there for first responders, for doctors, nurses, medical personnel, even for teachers, that all help with that down payment assistance. And these aren't all for first-time home buyers, not for a third of these programs. So make sure that you do your research and you know what's available to assist your clients when they have concerns about down payment. And also, let's talk about some resources that you have. So the first thing that I recommend is putting your mortgage community to work for you. We all have a preferred loan officer that we work with, or a mortgage professional that we work with. They are happy to help you put together these rent versus buy comparisons and materials. They're also happy to educate you on the down payment assistance programs that may be available to your clients. And they are a fantastic resource. So please make sure that you utilize them and you're partnering with them. And also empower your client. Make sure that you're giving them tools to do some research on their own, including those rent versus buy calculators, and even, you know, pointing them in the direction of some down payment assistance programs that they could research. And downpaymentresource.com is actually one of the options they have, that they can do a little research on their own. Now I want to move on to giving you an actual action plan. And I want you to think about this long term, because again, we get stuck into that. We don't consider rentals to really be more than a one-time only and then I'm done with it, or I don't want the hassle. It takes an investment of time and effort into the relationship. So let's look at some actions that you can take to build these relationships, to make sure that you are feeding your pipeline for years to come. So during the rental search, we always want to make sure that we are qualifying that client. And are we asking those questions? Should they consider buying? What are they looking for? What do they like? Are they looking for a specific type of property, or is the entire lifestyle more important to them? You want to make sure that you're providing information about what they could purchase, if that makes more sense, at their current rent level. And you're providing that basic education, including the information about down payments. And I always put education packets together. Now we do that for our seller clients, and we do that for buyer clients that we weren't working with as renters. They've already come to us, they're ready to buy. But I put that together for rental clients as well. And I had information in there, you know, about the application process, the rental process, and then some information too about, you know, would it make sense if they wanted to buy? So always have those packages available electronically and as well as in print. You know, nowadays, I'm not sure that anybody wants that big folder of information, but having a nice package put together that you can send them in email or send them in the cloud, perfect. And then after you've put them into a rental, make sure that you've got them set up on a follow-up alert and that you're following up with them. You want to make sure that you're following up on social media. You're keeping an eye out for any career or personal changes that could impact their willingness to buy. And you're targeting that communication sweet spot of 6 to 8 months after move in or after any important events in their lives. They get married, did they have a baby? And you're also conveying, the market news that could, impact their willingness to buy. So, and you're helping them visualize what they could purchase at their current rent level. And all of this is going to help you continue to build that pipeline and make sure that you have a healthy business for the future. And rentals are a big part of that. At this point, I am going to hand it over to Katrice Price. And she is going to talk to you a bit about apartments.com and our relationship with the MLS.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just sharing the results of the poll that we placed earlier. Can everybody see it?
I do.
Okay, so it looks like a little bit more than half of the audience right now is already working with residential rentals. So that's great.
I see that.
Great.
That is fantastic. And I hope for that 40% that isn't currently, I hope that some of the information we're conveying today may help you get on your way to working with renters and feeding your pipeline.
So we heard a really good overview of how working with rental listings can be beneficial, even though a lot of agents kind of find them to be a hassle and sometimes they feel like it doesn't really generate enough income for them. So you're probably wondering, now how does apartments.com fit into all of this? And how can we help you get those rental listings? And how can we help you with those rental listings? I'm sorry. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of apartments.com and how we can help you get those rental listings in front of millions of potential renters. So a lot of people don't know that apartments.com is actually more than just apartments. Some of you aren't aware that in addition to the large apartment communities, we actually have all types of residential rental properties on our site. So that includes single family homes, we have duplexes, we have townhouses, and we have condos. And right now we have about over 300,000 active residential rental listings that a lot of independent owners are trying to fill. And a lot of those owners are actually working with brokers and agents in order to get those vacancies rented. Next slide. There we go. So apartments.com actually has an entire network of sites. We have 7 total in our network. So of course, apartments.com is the main site. It's kind of our flagship website. But we also have forrent.com. We have Apartment Finder. We have Apartment Home Living. We have apartamentos.com, which is basically, it mirrors the apartments.com site, but it's completely in Spanish. We have For Rent University, which is our student housing site. So if there are students looking for off-campus housing near their college or university, they can refer to For Rent University. And then we have Westside Rentals, which basically is our site that focuses strictly on listings in the Southern California region. So the most important thing I really want to convey today is how we deliver value for brokers and agents who list their rentals in the MLS. So we've been partnering with MLSs across the country, and we've been setting up free data feeds that allow the rental listings to get placed across that network of sites that I just mentioned a little while ago. And not only does this ensure your listings get the huge exposure from our renter audience, but all the leads coming in from those listings are going to be free and exclusive. So we never share or sell any leads, or we're not going to sell any placement on your listing. And those leads are going to be delivered completely for free to the listing agent. As long as you provide us with your phone number or your email address, that lead only goes directly to the listing agent. And I just want to reiterate that we don't sell your leads, and we're not going to make you compete for those leads. We want to be your true industry partner, and we also have industry-friendly policies. All right, so the apartments.com network wraps up 2020 with amazing news. So we actually hit 1 billion renter visits in 2020. Brad and I are going to repeat that. That's billion with a B. So that's about 160 million more renter visits than we had in 2019. So that just strengthens our position as the #1 online rental network. So what this means for our industry is that renter demand is just gonna continue to set records well into 2021. And we saw that it was at an all-time high in Q3 and Q4 of last year. So that's why we're really grateful for the MLS partnerships like we have with High Central MLS. And we're hoping that we can just continue to deliver for you in 2021 and beyond that. Okay, so this slide is one that I always find kind of interesting. We display rental listings from all 50 states. So your potential renters could very well come from outside of your immediate market. So most people think that their potential clients are going to come from within their market, but people forget about potential renters that could be relocating to their market. I mean, it could be for work, it could be for school, retirement, etc. And as you can see from the slide, of course, the majority of the renters are searching from within Honolulu, but you've got people searching from Los Angeles, you've got New York, Chicago, and a very large portion from other regions. So this slide just kind of gives you an idea how apartments.com is actually performing within your market. So as you can see, we've done really well in your market year over year. If you look at the increase in leads for both phone and email, it has increased significantly from 2019 to 2020. The increased marketing and exposure that I mentioned a little bit earlier in the presentation had a direct impact on the number of leads that you can receive, that you have been receiving. And if you take a look on the right-hand side, you've signed over almost 3,600 leases last year. So we also have implemented some new rental tools that is going to streamline the rental process. So the landlord now has the ability to accept rental applications, screen potential applicants, generate leases, and collect payments. So the potential renter can complete the application and have their background check completed directly from the listing, which means the landlord has the ability to pre-screen their applicants prior to even making contact. So there is no cost to the landlord to use this feature. It's not currently available on MLS listings, but stay tuned for that. And along the lines of leasing tools, our parent company CoStar also just acquired HomeSnap. And I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with the site. They also have really great agent tools, and we are definitely excited to see how that site is going to be integrated within the current network. So now you're probably wondering, now how do I get my listings to apartments.com? So of course, the easiest way to get your listings on the site is just to merely add them to the MLS, and your listings will automatically come over to us. Or if you're not using the MLS, what you can do is you can add your listing manually to the site. So you just go to the top right-hand corner of this screen, You click on add a property and you can manually add that listing to the site. And it literally only takes about 5 minutes to do that. But regardless of the way that you send your listings to us, it's going to be free and your leads are going to be free as well. Well, that concludes the presentation. We do have a handout that's actually in the chat section. If I could get some assistance with posting that, Jennifer, to make that available to everyone. It's just a little bit more information about apartments.com. And it'll just kind of reiterate what we discussed today. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. Or if you like, you can always reach out to me directly. Again, my name is Katrice Price, and my email address is kprice@costar.com. I actually put it at the top of the chat section. So if you have any other questions or any concerns that you want to discuss with me privately, feel free to reach out to me through email. So let's are there any questions? Let's see.
See what we have in the chat.
So this one is, do you ever think there is a conflict of interest or breach of duty to your owner if you are soliciting tenants to buy when asked a property manager you represent the owner? In essence, you are taking a good tenant away from your client. Do you wait for the tenant to come to you and request service, or are you soliciting the tenant? Sorry for the typing mistakes.
That's a really good question. All right, and so I'm going to speak for the way that I handled that, because I did work for the landlord. I was their property manager. I always made sure that the tenants knew what I did. Now, if they were actively in one of my properties, I was very careful about the type of outreach that I did, because obviously you want to keep them as a good tenant. But I was always very open that if they had friends, family, anybody that needed assistance, I was always available to do that. Now, if it was someone who came to me looking to rent one of my properties, but then decided maybe that wasn't the property they wanted, or the property had already been rented and I continued to work with them, I had absolutely no problem marketing to them. So just keep that in mind. And it is a balance, especially if you do manage properties. But just, make sure that, you're not breaching the trust of your owner, the landlord. But absolutely, you can work with these folks. And there are ways to do it if they're an active tenant of yours. Okay, hopefully that answered that question.
All right, thank you, Jen. Another question is, any good template examples for education packages?
That is actually a really good question. And that is something that I will research. If Katrice would make a note of that, and I will see what I can find. I don't have any that I can just rattle off the top of my head, but it's something that I can certainly research and get some answers for you on that and some recommendations.
So another question is, what's the cost if we add rental listings directly to apartments.com? There's no cost to add rentals to apartments.com. If it comes from the MLS, it's free. If you go to the site and add it manually, that's free as well. I know that we also have a lot of property managers that are probably in the audience. And if you're using a software like Appfolio, Buildium, we're integrated with a lot of property management softwares as well. So you could actually send your listings directly to us from your software as well. So there's no cost to list on our site. Are there any other questions?
I see somebody asked, do you need a different license to manage rentals? I'm going to be speaking from the area that I work in. Now, Hawaii could be different, and if your real estate laws are different, somebody from the MLS, please pipe up. In my area, which is Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, all that required was a real estate license. If that is different in Hawaii, you may want to research that, but I am not aware that it is.
Okay, and then we have a question. As a property manager, the main goal is always to secure a good tenant for our owners. Our primary responsibility is certainly to ensure this and maintain the top services and care throughout a tenant's occupancy in the property. By sharing to our tenants that we are in sales allows them to know that in the event they are interested in a home purchase, then they can work with you.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And it also makes your tenant aware that while they may not need your services, they can refer your services. And referrals are a big part of the lifeblood of what we do.
Okay, beautiful. And then Katrice, it looks like there's a question for you. The 5-step services to seek and confirm a tenant is helpful to a landlord, but it's potentially competing with the property rental professionals. Does this mean that their services are now not as crucial?
Oh, no. I mean, we feel like real estate agents, brokers, property managers, all your services are equal. We don't feel that there is one that's more important than the other. Our service, we try to make it available to anyone that works with renters, whether you're an independent owner, you know, a mom and pop shop, or whether you're a large property management company, large brokerage. We're catering to anyone who works with renters.
And then, are you a competitor to Zillow Rental? They used to be free, but now they charge.
We are not. We are not a competitor, and I do understand that they are now charging. We are not charging for any of our services. Again, the listing is free. The leads are going to be free. We're not selling placement on your listing.
Nope. No, we don't. And Zillow, really, we don't compete with them. Zillow competes with you guys. We don't do that.
No, we are your CoStar, your partner.
And then, does apartments.com have an area for vacation rentals?
You can put short-term leases on apartments.com. As long as it's a lease term of 1 month or greater, you can post it on apartments.com. But we don't have a separate vacation rental section, but you can put your short-term rentals on the site.
Sorry, just reading through to see what else we have here.
Yeah, I'm doing the same.
This is Michael Fry. Can I jump in and highlight what Josh Rita has put in the chat there? You know,
Okay.
And speaking to the Zillow arrangement, I know a lot of folks have been contacted by Zillow. Just FYI, Zillow is a participant of the MLS and a member of HBR as well. So we have to treat them as any other broker, right? We're not trying to compete with anybody on this call. But Josh brings up a good point. If you're on the call and you manage properties or you have rentals, please put them into the MLS. We need the data. When you do, it's automatically syndicated to apartments.com, as well as almost 1,200 other IDX sites, and our data syndication partners there. So we also have a special property manager promotion, if you didn't know. So if that's your primary course of business, for one broker and one assistant broker that doesn't do sales, that charge is only $450. So that gets you and an assistant as an MLS participant. And again, that's for one broker and one assistant that does not do sales. So a lot of good stuff about rentals. We have over 1,100 rentals at any given time in the MLS. And so, encourage your folks to check them out if you're managing agents or property managers. So, thanks for letting me put in my MLS commercial.
Of course, of course. And your feed has just done so well. You and I have talked many times about how the listing count has grown over the past couple of years. When we first set up the feed with High Central, I believe it was at about 900 rentals. And now, like you said, at any given time, it's 1,100. I've seen it as high as 1,200. And as you saw from the slide in the presentation, I mean, the listings have just increased 80%, 60%. It's grown quite a bit. So we're really happy with that. And we hope you all are happy with that as well.
Katrice, I do see one question. How does apartments.com make money?
Oh, well, we get that question quite a bit. So a lot of the larger apartment communities, some of them choose to have paid ads on our site. So, that is how we generate some revenue on the site from the paid ads.
Beautiful. Okay. Does anybody else have any additional questions for Katrice or Jennifer? If not, I guess we will go ahead and end this here. And then we will go ahead and send out the recorded video to everybody in attendance. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Katrice and Jennifer, for being here today to present to all of our subscribers.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you again.
Bye.